Hollywood is obsessed with stars, actors, singers, faces we recognize instantly. But the people who shape those faces, the ones who work behind the scenes, rarely get the same spotlight until they're gone. The death of celebrity stylist Kim Vo wasn't just another industry loss. It was a moment that forced Hollywood to pause and look inward. Because Kim Vo didn't just style hair, he restored confidence, he rebuilt identities, and for millions of viewers, he became the face of transformation itself. If you think this is just an obituary, stay with me. Because Kim Vo's story reveals what Hollywood often forgets to value until it's too late. For many people, Kim Vo was instantly recognizable. Platinum blonde hair, distinctive voice, unmissable presence. To the world, he was the stylist from Extreme Makeover, the man who turned everyday people into unrecognizable versions of themselves. But inside the industry, Kim Vo was something more. He was a pioneer. At a time when celebrity styling was rigid and image-driven, Kim believed transformation wasn't about perfection. It was about empowerment. He didn't just change how people looked, he changed how they saw themselves. Behind the camera, his influence ran deep. Top celebrities trusted him, major television networks relied on him, producers knew his name carried weight. But Kim Vo never chased the spotlight the way others did. He worked, he created, and he lifted people quietly. That's what made the news of his death hit differently. At just 55, after a private battle with cancer, Kim Vo passed away. There was no long media build-up, no dramatic public farewell, just a sudden absence. And then, tributes. Hollywood reacted fast. Stylists, actors, producers, people who had worked with Kim shared memories that weren't about fame. They were about kindness. He made people feel safe. He listened. He cared. These weren't rehearsed compliments. They were raw reflections. Because Kim Vo wasn't just respected for his skill, he was loved for his humanity. And that's rare in an industry built on competition. What made his passing even more sobering was how little the public knew about his personal struggle. Kim kept his illness private. No sympathy posts, no public appeals. He continued working, mentoring, creating, while fighting a battle few people saw. That choice speaks volumes. In Hollywood, vulnerability is often monetized. Pain is turned into content. Kim Vo refused to do that. He lived and fought with dignity. As the tributes poured in, a larger conversation began to emerge. Why do we only celebrate people like Kim Vo when they're gone? Why are the architects of confidence, stylists, makeup artists, designers treated as background characters in stories they helped create? Extreme Makeover wasn't just entertainment, it was cultural, and Kim Vo was at its center. He didn't just alter appearances, he gave people permission to feel worthy of change. That legacy doesn't disappear with death, but it does demand reflection. This wasn't just the loss of a stylist, it was the loss of a mentor, a creative force, a reminder that the most powerful people in Hollywood aren't always the most famous ones. And as the industry mourned quietly, one truth became clear. Kim Vo's impact will outlive his name. After the tributes faded from social media, something became obvious. Kim Vo's death left a silence that couldn't be filled with words. Because his value to Hollywood wasn't performative, it wasn't loud, and it wasn't easily replaceable. Kim Vo represented something the industry quietly depends on but rarely acknowledges: trust. Celebrities trusted him with their insecurities. Networks trusted him with transformation narratives. And everyday people trusted him with moments that would define how they saw themselves forever. That kind of trust isn't taught, it's earned. Extreme Makeover worked because Kim understood something fundamental about beauty. Transformation isn't about erasing who someone is, it's about revealing who they already are. While reality TV often leaned into shock and humiliation, Kim brought empathy. He spoke to people before touching their hair. He explained changes instead of forcing them. He treated vulnerability as something sacred, not entertaining. That approach changed the tone of makeover television, and it influenced an entire generation of stylists who followed. But Kim Vo's legacy goes far beyond television. Inside Hollywood, he was known as a mentor. Young stylists sought his guidance. Industry newcomers leaned on his experience. And unlike many at the top, he didn't guard knowledge like currency. He shared it. In an industry obsessed with competition, Kim practiced generosity. That's why his death hit harder behind the scenes than it did in headlines. Because people didn't just lose a colleague, they lost a reference point, someone who reminded them why they started. His passing also exposed a deeper discomfort in Hollywood. The industry celebrates faces but forgets hands. The hands that build images, the hands that shape confidence, the hands that hold people together when cameras are off. Kim Vo was one of those hands, and his absence forced an uncomfortable realization. There are fewer people like him than Hollywood wants to admit. Since his death, conversations about wellness behind the scenes have grown louder. Stylists, makeup artists, crew members. The people who keep productions running often suffer quietly. Long hours, constant pressure, little recognition. Kim Vo's private battle with cancer became a reminder that strength doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it just keeps showing up, until it can't anymore. What makes Kim Vo's story linger isn't tragedy, it's contrast. He worked in an industry obsessed with youth, perfection and visibility, yet he valued humanity more than hype. He didn't chase fame. Fame found him, and even then he stayed grounded. That's rare. Hollywood will move on. It always does. New stylists will rise, new shows will air, new faces will be transformed, but Kim Vo's absence will be felt in quieter ways. In the way stylists talk to their clients, in the way transformations are framed, in the choice to treat vulnerability with care instead of spectacle. That's how real legacies work. They don't shout, they influence. Kim Vo didn't just change appearances, he changed how people felt in their own skin. And in an industry built on illusion, that may be the most honest contribution of all.